welcome everybody to Flicker Effect, episode 355. We are recording this and broadcasting live on Sunday, January 10th, 2021. By the way, I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Jascha Wilson.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going? It's just the two of us this week.
I know, man. Just the two of us. I felt really kind of odd not having to wait to say my, little patented hello, because I'm used to going, after Bobby, and there is no Bobby Jackson today. So it's kind of a bummer. No Bobby and no Michelle today. But
no Bobby, no Michelle.
This is cool.
Taking a little break.
I think we can use some one-on-one time, Dave. Just me and you.
We can. We got a big show next weekend, so it'll be the gang. Yeah. Everybody will be here next weekend. But we were trying to remember if you and I have done a one-on-one show before. I've done one-on-one shows with Bobby. I've done them with Michelle.
Yeah.
I feel like you and I have before, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like, that'd be something fun to kind of look into, because I honestly don't remember if it's just been the two of us when we've done a show.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But anyway, here we are. So watching a lot of football this weekend?
We are. I watched the only team that matters in my book. I watched them yesterday kick the teeth in of Seattle, so that was fun. I was actually at my best friend's house, and we were hanging out and just talking, like really not doing anything, like having a beer. And I kept checking my phone for the scores and to see what the score was. He's like, "Do you want to put the game on?" And so we put it on for like a second. And then I just I can't watch this shit. I just can't. Like, I get too stressed out. And I'm like a lowly, just a person that, sells stuff in the building. I can't imagine how like the general manager of the organization or the president feels when it's like, these are the guys that make these decisions to basically put the team together,
right? And
to have them like whether or not they're going to be successful. And I also, like most people, when it comes to superstition, feel that when I'm not watching the game, they do well. So a lot of it is like I'm sitting there. I had to turn the game off because I was stressed out, and then I just don't want to watch it. I just ended up checking the scores, and he was like, "Well, we can put it on." And I told him, I was like, "I honestly feel like if I'm watching it, they're going to start doing bad at this point. So I'd rather just not watch, and I'll watch the highlights later." So
yeah, I know
that's
what you mean.
I did. But
I've been that way with Orlando City, the local soccer team here, where I feel like there's been a lot.
Yeah, because you guys are really vested
lately.
in that.
Yeah, I am. But then there was a lot of stuff lately I wasn't able to see this year. Like, I didn't go to a lot of the games because of COVID, and then they had a really great season for us this year. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't be going to games.
It's weird how that logic all of a sudden just comes into your head, and it's like, I shouldn't do this. This is what I shouldn't do. Right. To support my team, I should pay absolutely no attention to my team, which the logic is absolutely asinine. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but at the same time, you're just like, well, they're winning, so it must be factual.
Right.
And there's a lot of pressure on the Rams to see if they can actually make it far and finish it out with the Dodgers winning the World Series, the Lakers winning the NBA Finals. I mean, it would be remarkable if we got 3 of the big 4 to win championships for the city of LA.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Good point.
Yeah, then we can have a big parade and spread COVID all over the place.
This is true. But at least you guys aren't putting fans in stadiums, right? I'm correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Yeah, we're doing that here.
No.
So.
Yeah. Oh, I'm from Florida. They follow you guys follow your own set of rules.
Right.
And there are no rules.
There are no rules. There's some. Yeah.
There's some.
We won't go down that road.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Fair enough.
It sounded like you were going to say
something. So I got a funny story.
Yeah, you got a funny story. Go ahead.
Yeah. I got a funny story. So I get a lot of stuff shipped to my mother's house, and called me, and she's like, "Hey, you have a big box here to pick up." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So I'll come over and pick it up. So I'm like, I don't remember ordering anything. And it was a big box. Like, it was it was huge. Okay. So I go over and I pick it up, and I open it up, and in it, I saw this while I was looking for a present for Dean, my godson, his son. Those 2. I saw this, and I just had to get it. And I thought to myself, this is a Jascha gift. So just so you know, and everybody knows, I now possess the hammer of
Ah,
Thor.
nice. That's
So,
awesome.
just to show you how big of a child me and my cousin are, like,
Nice.
this is what he decided to send me for Christmas. And as you can see, it is not small. Like, my hands,
Yeah,
it is pretty much of the hammer of Thor.
that's sweet. Who made that
Yeah.
one?
Oh man, I don't know, but it has a place for batteries and stuff like that, so it makes noise and lights up
Ah,
too. I just
nice.
haven't gotten any batteries for it yet. Yeah, I'll have to show you what that looks like. So I'm glad that I had saved this for the show. At first, I was going to send you guys a picture and a text message.
Right.
I was like, oh no, I should just tell them on the show. I would love to hear that first response and their reaction, because
No,
my
that's awesome.
reaction was like, holy shit. And I'm not gonna lie, man, the thing has a little bit of weight to it too. So it's
Yeah,
like it could do some damage if I really wanted to hit somebody. I mean, it's just
nice.
plastic, but if I hit somebody really hard with it, it would definitely they wouldn't want to get hit with it again. Let's just say that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So here we are. What? So we got a top 10 show next week. We've had some. I feel like
We
we've definitely had some
do.
debate off. We've had some debate off air about this. Like,
Hmm.
I know it kind of started with Bobby's been really pumped up about it, and I feel like the reaction from both me, you, and Michelle have been, but why? Like, it's what have we seen this year? Like, so I've been doing my typical binge watching like I do every year, which I do a lot of binge watching right before we do our top 10 show. But this year, especially with 2020 being the way it was, and just really
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
watching much stuff because we weren't watching kind of the typical stuff in movie theaters every week for the most part. Um, like, I,
Hmm.
I I had to sit down and kind of look at all the movies that came out this year. And I'm curious if you did this yet. And look at all the movies that I saw. And I did kind of make a list of, okay, of all the movies I
Hmm.
saw, which of them would I even consider putting on my top 10 list? Like, if I couldn't see any other movies and this is it, I have to pick from these movies, which ones would I even consider? And I was able to actually come up with 8 movies that I was like, I mean, this isn't a solid list, but if I had to, these are 8 movies I enjoyed. I guess it'd be my top 8 of the year. So,
Hmm.
but it's definitely like nowhere near a lock. Like maybe a couple of them are like, okay, I do want to see them somewhere in my top 10, but for the most part, it's I almost all of them could get booted if I saw better stuff. So this week, I've seen 5 movies this week, and
Oh wow.
I still have a few to I plan to watch this coming week. I don't know how many I'll fit in. I'm gonna try to fit in a bunch if I can. The funny thing is, I've watched more this week than I've watched before a show in a long time. But the funny thing is,
Hmm.
I really don't want to talk about any of them because
Hmm.
it's like, I feel like it's kind of a spoiler for my list in a way, even though not necessarily everything I've seen this week is going to make my list. But I
Right.
don't know. I feel like I'm just going to not talk about them yet until we actually do the top 10 show. And then, if some of them make the list, great. The ones that don't, I'll probably bring up afterwards and be like, yeah, I watched this, by the way. I watched that. But
Hmm.
I was curious, have you been watching anything new, or have you done any kind of thought of like, man, if I had to do my list right now, like what would it be like? Or
Oh yeah, for sure. I've done like a little bit of a look and seen, just like, because I had to legitimately Google like movies that came out in 2020,
hmm
and I'm like, oh, okay, that did come out. That came out. Did I really enjoy that? Um, it's it's small. Like, I really don't know how else to say, like, in regards to like what I've really seen. I There's a couple of things that I do want to try and watch before the show next week. I don't know if I'm going to get be able to get completely to them, but I'm definitely going to try. The big one being Tenet. Like, I'm going to try and get
oh, that's
Tenet
right, you haven't seen
and
Tenant
sit
yet.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
sit down and actually watch that. So that's definitely one that I'm going to try and get through before next week, just to see
Okay.
if that would even go on my list. Also, primarily, I have a friend of mine that I work with, and he calls me and he's like, "I need you to watch Tenet," and I'm like, "Okay, why?" He's like, "Because I need you to explain it to me. I don't know what the fuck is going on." And I'm like, "All right, fair enough. I'll watch it, and then we'll convene after." and talk a little bit about the movie. But um, I hate to say it, but you would think that it would be easier to watch things because they didn't open up in the theaters. But I guess I was so acclimated to going once a week, and once a week, this is my block to watch a movie.
Right.
I found myself doing other things or trying to be active as much as I can outside when I'm stuck in the house, 5 days a week, without leaving.
Yeah, that's what I feel like where I am, because you're right. Like now that I've kind of looked at other people's top 10 lists, which is kind of inspiring a lot of the stuff I've been trying to binge watch, I start to realize, man, a lot of stuff did come out that, we were all able to watch in the comfort of our home this year. And I just didn't watch much of it because same thing. It's like I'm kind of used to at least going to the movie theater like once a week and seeing a, usually a bigger studio movie every week, but seeing a
Yeah.
movie in a movie theater every week, talking about it on here with COVID. Yeah, I could have like tried to watch stuff at home, but I felt like it just kind of threw us all off our normal kind of track. It just my year, I just didn't even think about doing all that most of the time. It was just like, I'll do this now, or work on the house, or been doing more gaming this
Yeah.
year. It was just the year was totally thrown for a loop, and yeah, now I'm realizing, man, I could have watched a lot of stuff, but I'm watching it now, and it's actually I've said this before when I binge watch stuff before the show, but it's actually kind of fun because even if there's stuff I'm watching that maybe I don't like as much as other people do, and it's stuff I see on somebody else's top 10 list, and even if I don't think it's top 10 worthy, they're all still good films, and it's
Mhm.
nice to sit down and watch like 5, 10 good films in a row. Like makes you feel better about films when there's a lot of crap out there. But I don't know. It's a lot of fun kind of binge watching stuff like this.
Yeah. But I mean, here's like if you're binge watching stuff and finding time to binge watch everything right now, all in, all
Yeah.
in to get 5 movies
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
week taken care of, which is collectively what 8 hours of TV
And you
time,
just think
10
that's only
hours.
like, but if you're going where I think you're going with this, that's only like 10 episodes.
I think you do. I think you know. I think you know where I'm going with this. I just like, and I mean, obviously, I joke with you now, and it's just almost like a point of just like of slamming you here and there with it. But it's like, please, David, I know. And Bobby and I have actually talked about this off show. We have talked
Yeah.
about this, and we both are in just massive agreement when it comes to like if you and Michelle would watch it, you would legitimately find it amazing. Like I have no doubt in my mind. I have
Yeah.
no doubt in my mind that, and Bobby feels the same way. And we're so shocked and so bummed sometimes when it comes to
Yeah.
the. I understand where you're coming from because you've heard so much and it's just like the hype is so much there and everything like that. But I promise you will not be disappointed.
I mean, for those who are watching or listening and don't know what we're talking about, you're talking about Breaking Bad since you didn't actually say it. Um,
I was trying not to. I was trying to stay away from the actual word. I was trying to stay away, but it's like, yeah, I
yeah.
was leaning towards like, for those that don't know, if you haven't watched it, David and Michelle have been staunch on the. They have been. How do I say this? Incredibly resistant to watching the show, and just like
I mean, I wouldn't call it
plenty of people.
resistant. Like, I've liked what I've watched so far. I've watched episodes now. It's just,
What? Yeah, but you've. What season are you on? If you're still on
oh,
like
season
season
one.
2, you're.
I'm season
Oh,
one.
dude. See, and that's the crazy thing. It's like, and I've had this conversation with people before too. Is just like if you the first season, like any show, a lot of times is a little bit slow. You get past the first season and into like the mid second, middle of the second one, and closing
Mm-hmm.
in on the third. You will definitely be like, okay, I need to see where this is going, type of situation.
Okay. All
I
right.
promise you that.
I'm gonna watch it. I've enjoyed the show so far. I think, yeah, referring maybe what you're referring to is I mean, I think especially from Michelle. I don't want to speak for her, but I get the sense that she definitely feels this way. What I'm about to say, but you know, with the hype and watching the episodes we did, I felt like, and she seems to especially feel like okay, it's okay, but what's so good about this? Like, why is the hype around Breaking Bad is just so big? But I can see that it's gonna get to a point, like you're saying. I can see that the work is being done in those first few episodes for a show that okay, this is going to be pretty great. But so far, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll keep watching.
I'm like, what can I do and what can I say to get my friends, my good friends, to finally just commit to watching this? Because we are both, David, Bobby, and I are both very much in agreement that we think that you guys, and especially Michelle, would definitely really, really enjoy the show. But
Mm-hmm.
I understand like the resistance because I've had people try and push stuff on me before, and it's like at this point, I honestly don't care. Like I just like I mean that's just it. It's like everybody's told me that it's so good, or take it a different direction. It's like you've been told so many times that it is so good, and what if you're expecting this hype, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't live up to that hype. So
Right.
that would be a major bummer. But everybody that I've talked into watching the show, because there have been a few, they have all thoroughly enjoyed the show
Right.
and love the details. Like a friend of mine I used to work with at UCI, he was one of the first people that told me he was floored at like the attention to detail and that there was
Mm-hmm.
just no loopholes and he just thoroughly enjoyed the show, him and his wife. So
It's gonna happen.
and it's like I wish I could do something like he's like, look, I'll watch the kids. I do take them to a
Give me a
park.
week of extra vacation time at work
Yeah.
so that I can just take
Like
a
I'm
week
like
off and
I live 3,000 miles away from you.
right.
Like I can't, I offer nothing. I have nothing to offer, like to try and really make this happen for you guys. And
Yeah.
it's more just my own personal plea.
No, I know how guilty I am I know how also guilty I am of starting things and then jumping onto something else before I finish one thing, which I'm in the
Yeah. I think
middle
we've all
of
done that.
a few shows. Like I haven't finished this season of The Crown yet, and now we probably would have finished it by now if we weren't kind of on top of watching all these movies we want to watch before we do the top 10 show next week. And
Right.
then yeah, like I ended up starting, I talked about it on here. I started Star Wars Clone Wars, the animated series, which is just a lot to watch, except those are easy for me to fit in at different times of my day. Like if I'm on a break at work or something, because they're short, like little, 23-minute episodes
Mhm.
or 30-minute
Yeah.
episodes.
So let
So
me ask you
that's,
this.
yeah.
Are you watching it in the order that Bobby sent over that that's what you should be watching it? Or are you just flying through season one, two, three, four, five?
No, I ended up going with that order, and I definitely see that following that order, that order makes sense. It's kind of crazy. Like
That's interesting.
I haven't looked more into like what was the reasoning behind releasing them the way they did, or I don't know what happened there. I'm very curious about it. I mean, for those who don't know, when we talked about this in a previous episode, Bobby pointed out, "Hey, have you been watching Clone Wars in the order that they are, like on Disney Plus, or in the correct order?" And I'm like, "What do you mean the correct order? Like, what is there another order?" And he explained that I guess the order that they released the episodes on air is actually not the like correct like sequential order of the episodes, like how they take place, which really made no sense to me. I'm like, how this can't be possible? Like, why? And sure enough, like
Yeah.
it wasn't just a random blog post like, hey, you should watch them in this order. Kind of like you see with the Star Wars films, people who are like, hey, watch it in this funky order or that funky order, and it's better. No, like there's an official StarWars.com list. Like, hey, this is the proper order to watch Clone Wars episodes, and I have started watching them in that order, and sure enough, yeah, like it makes complete sense. And there's stuff, it jumps from like an episode in season 3 and then episodes from season 1 for a while and then like a season 2 episode or something. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I it blows my mind, but whatever. It works. So yeah,
So
that's the order I'm watching them in.
So when you do that, do you just go ahead and like just look up the show, download it, and then go and just watch it in that order, or how does that work when you do it, or you just bounce around all over when you're watching it on Disney Plus or your phone or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I have been downloading episodes to the app, so like if I am at work and I go on lunch break or something like that, I can watch an episode. But yeah, I have for now I've just been referencing that list from like the browser on my phone. I've actually been
Okay.
meaning to print that list out on a piece of paper and start checking them off so that I know
Mm,
like where I am, because I
yeah.
will say now to the point that there's a there's a bunch of episodes now in season one that are in the correct order. Like it was like the first 10 episodes of that list that were kind of jumped around a little bit. And now it's like, okay, you basically can just watch them in order, in normal
Hmm.
episode order for a while. And then it starts getting funky again at some point. But yeah, I've been meaning to like print that list out so that I just have like a something to like check off to go, okay, if I, in case I take
Yeah.
a break like I am right now, like I'm on a kind of a break from watching episodes because I've been watching a bunch of movies instead. So now
Hmm.
part of me is like, wait, when I go back, wait, where did I leave off? What, which episode am
Right.
I on again? Like, but I think I'll be able to figure it out.
Since we're talking about animated series, I wanted to bring this up to you because I've been thinking about this all week when I started it up, and I'm sure that you'll appreciate this. HBO Max has officially put on the Batman animated series
Mm,
from the 90s,
hmm.
and I started watching that again. Just background music most of the time for when I'm working and just like have something on the background.
Yeah.
I genuinely forgot how good this show was. Like this animated series was so damn good. And I forgot how much music really was and played in this series. It's absolutely beautiful. Like the
Yeah.
animation is it really is just top notch even back then for like a television show for the 90s, like
Yeah.
just on daily. Like it was surreal good. Like it's damn good. Like I am really enjoying revisiting all the characters, seeing Harley Quinn for the first time because that's where she made sure she debuted.
Yeah.
Some of these other villains, Clayface, was their debut was on this show. It's so fantastic. Like I am really like enjoying just getting a chance to watch that all over again, and really enjoy it. Like I love the mix between like 1950s action where everybody's wearing hats and bowlers and suits, and then at the same time all of a sudden it's super sci-fi and super forward, and like there's no way that they would have this technology in a city like this if this is what everybody's dressing in. Like it's
Right.
just a really cool mix, you know what I mean? Like it's just
Hmm.
a fun show.
Yeah. There's a lot of that show too that I haven't seen. I should dig into that. Of course, that's just adding something else for me to watch. It's
You're
like you're
gonna
trying
get
to give
sucked
me
into
ideas of things to watch so that I don't watch Breaking Bad. If that's what you want.
it. Yeah, that's my goal. But yeah, I mean it's fair because like I was when I'm at the gym and I do like finishing up with my cardio, I like to watch just movies that I've seen
Hmm.
over hundreds of times. And one of the last ones that I got a chance to watch was Batman, the 1989 one, and then I started the 1991 Batman Returns with Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito, and unfortunately, I guess HBO Max took it off their play. Like it's not there anymore for me to watch, so I
Mm.
can't even watch it on my phone. I missed the boat when it came to that, but they finally put up the entire Dark Knight trilogy. So I'm watching the Dark Knight Rises. Like, I mean, it's just like they have. I don't mean to be all in on Batman right now, but it's like I just like want to watch something that's kind of like just background noise, something that I can do while I'm doing my cardio and
Yeah.
not get super sucked in and forget about the time. But watching the animated series throughout having that on as background noise is a lot of fun.
Nice. Then that's on HBO Max, right?
That is on HBO Max. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, like I said, I've been watching a bunch of movies, haven't really watched anything else. I started listening to the audiobook this week for the first book in this kind of new era of Star Wars content that Disney and Lucasfilm and that whole crew are putting out. It's like Star Wars, the High Republic. I think Bobby talked about it a little bit on here on a previous episode, but it's the High Republic era of Star Wars, so it's years and years and years and years and years before anything we've seen before from Star Wars. So it's kind of interesting just in that it's completely blank slate in a way of Star Wars stuff with completely new characters. And the first book dropped this week, and with my schedule trying to actually read the book almost never happens. So I've been listening to the audiobook. So I started that this week.
Mm.
Otherwise, I really haven't seen anything else. But I know you've been watching Cobra Kai season 3, which
Yes,
I have heard really good things about, and I'm curious, does it live up to that hype?
I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I mean, it's amazing what these writers and producers and directors have done when it comes to re-releasing this show and the continuation of this story. I mean, back in the 80s, this was, relatively cheesy. It was kind of over the top. It was definitely a very 80s film. And it's full of nostalgia, but at the same time, it's full of progressive, characters and, really addressing a lot of things. Some interesting, fight scenes. I mean, they're not the best fight scenes in the world, as a friend of mine mentioned to me earlier, but at the same time, these are like teenagers and high schoolers that are trying to do these amazing karate fight scenes. But I think it plays and it holds up. Like, the show is so damn good. Like, you get really sucked into the drama of these characters, and I'm genuinely curious as to where they go next. And they have done a remarkable job getting people to come back from the previous movies. Like, they just had the Ralph Macchio's character, love interest from the first movie. She came back in. I can't remember. Let me see.
Yeah, Elizabeth Shue.
Elizabeth Shue, thank you. They just had Elizabeth Shue come back. They also had the Asian girl from the second one and his nemesis from the second movie as well. And in all honesty, I think we're going to see the third film's nemesis as well come back for the fourth season. I don't know if they're going to try and go in with this show, but I'm all in. Like, it's funny, it's silly, it's full of drama and relationships and relationship building, and then tearing down that relationship. I love it. I think the show's fantastic. I think it's hilarious. I think they do a really good job with it.
Yeah, that's another one I started randomly and haven't finished. I mean, I only saw one episode. I watched the pilot like very randomly. Once it moved over to Netflix, and I just had nothing to do one day, I watched the pilot. And I remember watching it, thinking, okay, like, but I've heard from, I think, you and a bunch of other people who are like, yeah, but keep watching, it gets a lot better. So
Yeah.
one of these days.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who absolutely loves it, and then I have another friend who, like, this would be right up his alley, but kind of like what you just said. He's like, yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes and it was boring.
Mhm.
And it's like, it gets so much better. Like, it really, it's weird how you get so sucked into these characters, and the different story and like vilifying of each character is really, really funny, because on the surface you look at it and it's like, oh, Johnny is supposed to be the bad guy, and he's supposed to be the main antagonist, and the person that you really don't want to win. But then from his perspective, it's just like, oh man, maybe Daniel was kind of like the bully and a little bit of a prick, and like he was the bad guy in the end. And why did we want him to win again? And it's just like,
Right.
it's that kind of like turmoil and back and forth of the show that really kind of sets you off, and you're just like, man, this is fun to see his perspective, because a lot of it first starts off from Johnny's perspective of when he first met Daniel, who was supposed to be the hero. So it's a fun show. Like, I would recommend anybody, if you watch the first 3 movies, I would definitely recommend you to watch them, because they hold up. They're good. They're just fun stories. And it's a quick watch. Like, I think the longest episode was 40 minutes, and that was the season finale, aside from 30 minutes.
Nice. So that's Cobra Kai on Netflix. Used to be on YouTube Premium, I guess, is what it was on. But,
Yeah.
Yep, on Netflix now.
Which is another thing that I think is absolutely surreal and kind of like cool to think of, is like, this movie started out, or this show started out with, a very small following on YouTube Plus, and then it got
Right.
so big, Netflix was like, "Yeah, let's buy this," and they just bought it and snatched it right up. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they don't regret it. Like, they can't possibly
Uh,
do, because it's just like people are, every time I talk to somebody, or every time they released it, they released season 2 and then they released season 3. That's all I see on my news feed of just like, when it comes to Facebook, is like, Cobra Kai is amazing. Oh my God, it's so good. And this and that, and this and that. Like, that's all anybody talks about. The resurgence of Ralph Macchio's career, and um, William Zabka. Like, I'm sure it's just like, I
mm,
mean, they've been acting this whole time, but it's like, are we really, have we really seen them? Like, do you really remember seeing them? Like,
right.
not really.
Yeah.
It's not really. So,
Nice. So that is yeah, that's Cobra Kai on Netflix. Uh I don't know. We it's gonna be a short show. Like just two of
mm,
us. We haven't been watching much or not watching much that we're willing to talk about, like in my case. Um yeah. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap things up?
no, I mean, I can't really think of too many other
Uh,
things that I really wanted to dive in. I mean, we talked a little bit about what you're watching and what I wish you would watch, and
my daily
but
dose of what the hell's wrong with you? Why aren't you watching this shit? Or my weekly dose. Um,
I fully expect that sooner or later you'll watch it, and it will just be to shut me up. It has nothing to do with whether or not you want to watch the show. It'll really just be to shut me up. I mean, but I'll tell you something that I'm not even sure you know. I have never watched any of The West Wing.
oh, that's right. No, you've mentioned that I think one or two times
Yeah,
randomly. Yeah,
I think
that's on
so.
HBO
Yeah, I
Max.
thought I had. I know. I've seen it. They have
Yeah,
like a special too, or something like that too, like a reunion special show or something like that, don't
yeah, they
they?
did that. They did that. Well, they released it in October of 2020, kind of
Okay.
as a fundraiser for I think When We All Vote, an organization
Oh yeah,
committed to
that makes
getting
sense.
everyone to vote. Yeah, leading up to the election. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
basically they redid an episode of The West Wing kind of on stage with they brought
Oh okay.
all the cast
Cool.
back. Yeah, no, it's really good. Obviously, I'd watch the show first, and then
Hmm, hmm.
once you one day when you finally watch all the West Wing, check it out. It's really good.
I did watch. I forgot to mention this. I did watch the Fresh Prince of Bel Air reunion on HBO Max. I
Oh,
watched that. I think Bobby watched it, and he said pretty much that like got him all in the feels, and it was definitely an emotional show. Yeah, I'll echo that. Like, I watched it, and I was like, "This is." I mean, it was fun. It was sad. Excuse me. It was heartwarming. It was everything that you would expect from a show that you
mm,
watched growing up, to and having lost one of the main characters because Uncle Phil has passed away.
yeah,
Um, it was, and it's like, I didn't realize that the show was only on for 6 years. I feel like it had been
mm,
on longer than that, but it was only on for 6 seasons,
mm,
which is well over 100 episodes. But
yeah,
and then it's like, then when you think about it, some of these other shows out there, it's like Friends was on for 10 years. Can you believe that? Friends was on for 10 years.
yeah,
That's insane. That's a long time. Seinfeld was on for 9. So
yeah. Simpsons has been on for 30 something
forever, as
seasons
long as
forever.
as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
what's the other one? They were on for I think 10 years too. Was the the Big Bang Theory?
yeah, yeah. That was a big one.
They've been on. They
Obviously.
were on for a long time too. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Since you're talking about like revival of, or not revival, but kind of bringing back the reunion thing for Fresh Prince, it reminds me that I mean, for anybody who cares, no offense, I just did never watch this show, but I think it was revealed tonight, like not long before we started this episode, that I guess Sex and the City is coming back to HBO Max. So like a revival of that show. It's basically coming back, and I guess with the same cast, I assume. And yeah, I'm gonna assume you're not much of a fan. And like I just said, no offense to the show, I not my thing. I never watched it, but
No, you know what? My a girl that I dated, she got me into watching it because
Really?
yeah, because the show was on. I think it was right after The Sopranos or right before, and so and it was on a Sunday night. So I
Mm,
think it was before because The Sopranos I think was on at 9 and Sex and the City was on at 8:30. So the
okay.
routine was we would watch Sex and the City and then we would go right into The Sopranos. Um, and for a while, I did really start to like the show. Like I did kind of enjoy it. I think it's the topics that they discussed a lot of the times was really good. The way that they played it out was completely unrealistic. Like it was
Mm,
just like not that's not a thing. Like like
right.
you're a struggling writer, a struggling columnist writer living in the Upper West Side of New York City, and you buy $500 pair of shoes once a week.
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah.
not quite, sweetheart. Like I don't know. Like some
Yeah.
of them, like that's not really how that works. This is like like I've been up there. That is a very, very expensive
Hmm.
place, and you live in an amazing apartment. So it's like, the silliness of that, but the topics that some of what they discussed were really they were interesting. They were interesting, and it's like kind of weird to hear how I guess women resonated with some of the topics that they dealt with when it came to dating. And I have some other opinions about that show, but I am not going to actually share them on this show for fear of hate.
All right.
There's a lot that goes into it. Like it's negative, and I get it, but no, I'm not going to do
So
it.
yeah,
I'm not going to go down.
I thought it was worth bringing up since it made me think of it when you brought up the reunion, and I don't know any other details beyond that. I don't know when it's coming back. I don't know who's returning, but apparently it's a thing. It is coming back. But
Well,
yeah.
there's also the Many Saints of Newark that should be coming out
Mm,
fairly soon, and that's actually I don't know if you know anything about that, but
mm-mm.
that is actually supposed to be a prequel to The Sopranos, showing a young Tony
That's
Soprano,
right.
young
Okay.
Junior Soprano. This has been in the works for a long time with David Chase, who is the creator of The Sopranos, and James Gandolfini's son is actually playing him as a young man. So that should
Yeah.
be interesting to watch. I'm not sure how good of an actor he's going to be. I don't think he's done anything else, but I'm interested in seeing that just because I love the characters and I have watched the seasons of the series more than once. It's still one of my favorites. It does have lulls and there are some parts where it gets a little corny, but it is a fantastic, fantastic show.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen a decent amount of Sopranos. I haven't watched it in its entirety, but I've seen enough of it that I'm like, that was a solid show.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go back and like start it from beginning to end and watch the whole thing,
Yeah.
but
And you
I've seen
should.
enough.
You should.
It's really good.
Yeah, and you should. Like, I mean, the show still plays out. Like, I mean, and you
Hmm.
watch different interviews and different conversations with people who are part of the show and whatnot, and they all say the same thing. It's like they've had wise guys like come up to them and be like, that sounds like my life, or, how did you get that information? I mean, it's very detailed in regards to like how those guys operated and worked
Hmm.
back in the day, and I think it holds up and it plays today. Aside from some of the things that change when it comes to like technology, where everybody's holding a phone and a computer, literally, and the internet in your pocket. Aside from that, like I mean, it definitely holds up. Like it's a
Yeah.
fantastic show.
Yeah.
A lot of
No,
fun, a
it's
lot of fun,
yeah.
especially if you like crime dramas and gangster movies and stuff like that. It's a really,
Right.
really solid one.
Well, as we started off by saying, so next weekend we'll be doing our annual top 10 show. To this time, top 10 films of 2020. Lately, we've been going live on Sunday nights, recording these around 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. We're gonna try to start this one a little earlier. We'll be starting at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. So if you are going to watch live here on YouTube, just be aware. And it's probably going to be a bit of a longer episode. Hence why we're hoping to start a little earlier. So we'll try not to make it too terribly long. But hey, there's four of us. We've all got 10 films to talk about. Yeah, we take our time. But And it'll be interesting. It's gonna. I don't know. Like every year, it's interesting to go through our list because even though I think we obviously have a lot of interest in common, especially comic book movies and sci-fi and Star Wars stuff like that. But then this year there wasn't much of that. And when you look at the variety of stuff that was available to watch at home, especially with all the different streaming services out there and all the different films that were released on those, there is a very good chance we could have four very, very different lists. Like
Hmm.
it could be the most kind of eclectic set of lists that we've ever had. So I think that's what can make this year very, very interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. I was a little skeptical about doing it at first, and now that I've started watching some stuff, I'm like, all right, I am looking forward to putting this together and doing our show. It
Should
almost
be
always
interesting.
always
That's for
feels like
sure.
a holiday every year when we do it. It's fun.
Should be interesting. That's for sure.
It should be. But with that, we are going to wrap things up and get out of here. As always, we'd love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can comment if you're watching us on YouTube. Comment down below with your questions or comments. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified when we post any videos and go live in the future. We are also on Instagram and Twitter at Flicker_effect. You can check us out there. With that, I am David Lott.
And I'm Yasha Wilson.
And yeah, the whole hammer of power of Thor. I was going to do the whole thing. I screwed it up. But anyway, you got it. With that, thanks for listening and watching.